speaker that we have been blessed to have here before, that we've all enjoyed. He has something special that just happened to him yesterday. He is now a new licensed practitioner. His name is Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. So welcome.
So how is everybody this morning?
Good.
So, I guess I should warn you now. Part of today is going to be an audience participation number. Just let you know that now. So, if you want to leave, the doors are now closed. So, the theme for this particular week is forgiveness is not simply an event, it's a paradigm, a way of being, right? And my particular talk title today is The Alchemy of Forgiveness. Now, why do we forgive? So many years ago when I was a fundamental Christian, I used to get kicked out of Bible study. Yeah, I know. Figure, you what? So, one of the things that got me kicked out of Bible study was the fact that I used to ask questions. And one of the main questions I would ask was, why does God forgive? Why does God even need to forgive? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, and now, remind you, this is coming from a fundamental Christian perspective, right? Why does God need to forgive? Why is God even jealous? What could I possibly do in my tiny, finite selfness do to make, you made Jupiter. You make grass grow. What could I possibly do to anger you, to make you jealous, or to need forgiveness? So I asked these questions and was told the exit is there. So now let's fast forward. Here we are now. And as New Thought folks, religious scientists, metaphysicians, we understand that God is all there is. That means you're it, I'm it, we're all it. We are all the I am. In some form of expression in terms of our awareness of. Because we already know, I think I said it before, our we believe number 4 says, we believe that heaven is within us. And that we recognize, acknowledge it to the degree that we become conscious of it. Same thing for our Godness, our God self. Until we acknowledge or are willing to acknowledge that portion of us, we are going to see ourselves in generally one of 3 ways, to a certain degree. Now imagine, someone is talking about you, right? And when they describe you, they're describing a certain aspect of yourself. When someone says, oh, she's such a beautiful musician. All of these other things are not being described in that. It's one aspect of. You are such a wonderful mother. One aspect of. You're such a wonderful father. One aspect of all of this thing called self, right? Now, related to this forgiveness thing, there's this self. Lowercase s, lowercase e, lowercase l, lowercase f. Self. This self doesn't want to forgive. You made me mad, you took the last Krispy Kreme donut, you knew I wanted it, and you took it anyway. But Ray, you didn't say you wanted it. You should have known. Or, this self, Hatfields and the McCoys. We've been arguing for how many generations, and we know not why. But we're going to keep on arguing. Lowercase. Then there's the capital S, lowercase e, lowercase l, lowercase f, that understands that there's this thing called forgiveness that really does benefit me, and I may not be ready to, may not be ready, but at least I can acknowledge that there's this thing called forgiveness. Then maybe I get to the point where I understand, yes, I am able to forgive. And every time I go home and visit my family, I must do the process again. Every time I am stuck in traffic, yes, I must do the process. Okay, then. God is all there is. Namaste, mister. I didn't use my traffic signal to turn. Namaste. But I understand that I'm in the process of forgiving actively. But then there's the capital S, capital E, capital L, capital F, that needs not to forgive anything. Because that Christ self, Buddha nature, God self, cannot be offended, cannot be injured, hurt, cannot be any of the things that this self can feel. Because it knows, well, let's 3 steps back. There's this one, you may have heard of her before. This was Emma Curtis Hopkins. Okay, so this is back, I don't know, something around. So, in the class From Whence We Came, which is one of the classes that CSL teaches, one of her books is mandatory reading. And in this book, she says some stuff that, if you're not ready for it, it's like, I need to close the book. Because she blatantly says things like, there is no death. There is no death. Orlando, Dallas, Louisiana. The list can go on. There is no death. There is no sin. There is only God and only good. Oh, what do we do with that? Because it's possible to get to a point of an exercise in futility, where we get so caught up in metaphysical platitudes that we forget what it means to practice what we say we believe. It's really challenging. Okay, let's go 3 steps back even more. Don't know if you've noticed, I'm brown. Just saying, I don't know. You may not have noticed. The Yoda shirt may have caught you, the Yoda tie may have caught you off. But I'm brown. Now, there are certain things that a brown person experiences that a non-brown person may not. More than likely won't. This whole idea of when driving and I see the lights, just because of the day and age, this self kicks in. Oh, I hope it's not for me. What if it is? And then what I have to do, knowing what I know now, is you need to silence yourself. Because there's this self that I have access to that can say, even if you are your God, their God, so calm down. And then I try my best at that moment, plug into this self. And know, right here, right now, there is only peace. Right now, right here, there is only the isness and allness of God. And what is meant to be will be. And they drive by. And so it is, in gratitude. There are places that a female will not go at certain hours of the night. Because, in our day and age, things may occur. Should you be able to walk where you want to walk with freedom? Yes. When I'm walking down the street and I notice someone clutching their bag, the last thing I'm thinking about is, but do these things happen? Yes. Are there places that, now, let's 3 steps back even more. Tracy and I were recently with a couple of friends. We were in New York for Pride. We go to Pride every year, right? And, well, I shouldn't say every, we've been there every year for like 6 years now. Because New York Pride is like, anyhow, I digress. Sorry. We have these moments. So, Pride, people ask, why is there an LGBTQ Pride? And then they question, this thing about Orlando, what's the... Do you understand that there are places, times, that an LGBTQ person cannot be themselves without threat of bodily harm. Now, I don't fit the generic stereotype of what that means. I don't have a pink boa. I'm just saying, because that's the stereotype. I mean, people expect me to act like, what's his name? Will and Grace. Jack. People expect me to act like Jack. Do you understand that if you buy a box of crayons, there's a variety of colors? It works the same way in every community, right? But there are certain places and times where you cannot go and be yourself without. Now, what does all this have to do with forgiveness? Every single one of us, at some point, something comes up in our consciousness that says, whether it's a family member who will not accept you, whether it's a person who's in line in front of you and has 4,629 coupons in the 12 items or less line, pulling 2 shopping carts and paying in coins. And the first thing we do is judge. Why would you get in this look? She knows she should. Why are you? That's lowercase kicking in. Judgment. Why do we judge? This self feels the need to judge, to classify and compartmentalize as you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. You shouldn't be wearing what you're wearing. You shouldn't love who you love. You shouldn't eat what you eat, weigh what you weigh. On and on and on and on this goes. And because of the culture we grow up in, because of the educational system we're educated in, because of our wonderful thing called television and media, when used for evil, used for bad, used for... which ultimately it isn't, by the way. Because there is no evil, ultimately. But it's used in this manner that it's teaching us stuff. And if we are not mindful enough to say, reality television is not reality, then we buy into it. How many times as a youth, maybe as an adult, did you sit down to watch a spooky movie and get so caught up in the spooky movie that you thought you were in the creaky old house with the young lady in that creaky old house in the movie? That you had the remote control, unless it was back when I was a child and you had to actually get up and turn the thing. You were terrified to get up because whatever it is might be under the... So we get mystified and hypnotized by the illusion. And when we do, we fall into fear, judgment, separation. And when we find ourselves in those moments, forgiveness is what's called for. Now, is there ever going to be a time when we need not forgive? Possibly. I mean, Colin Tipping has this amazing book called Radical Forgiveness, where the concept is there's nothing to forgive because everything is by divine appointment. To a certain degree. Everyone who's in this room is meant to be here. So if Rose were to slap me, please don't, but if she were to, it's meant to happen. And if it's meant to happen, why am I needing to forgive it? Now when I first read that, I was like, you have no idea what you are talking about. Think of all the atrocities that Pol Pot, Hitler, Charles Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, list goes on and 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 on. But his concept is, and tying into our concept is Hitler God? Ooh. Is Jeffrey Dahmer God? Yes. Ooh. But the thing is, they don't know. They don't know. So when this happens, when it's, you shot all these people in Orlando. Why? You know what? I don't even need to know why. Because your why still may not satisfy me. Jeffrey Dahmer said he killed and ate people because he loved them and wanted to keep them with him forever. That was his why. Is that satisfactory to me? No. So knowing his why means nothing. So what am I called to do? Be angry? What does that do? Reverend David Bruner gave his congregation a wonderful homework assignment where he said, take hold of something like a rock or something and carry it. And I don't remember the exact time, so I'm going to use creative liberties and say, I want you to carry it for a week. Keep it in your dominant hand for an entire week. When you comb your hair, keep it. When you brush your teeth, keep it. When you eat, keep it. When you cook, keep it. When you take a shower, keep it. When you drive your car, keep it. When you play with your kids or your dog, keep it. Don't let it go. And notice how challenging it is to do things while holding on to this. How challenging would it be to becomes very challenging or impossible to function at a high level when we are preoccupied with carrying this nonsense around. So what are we asked to do? There's a story in the Bible where one of the disciples says, yo, Jesus, listen here, yeah. When my brother offends me, how many times am I supposed to forgive this fool? 7 times 7? 7 times, I mean. To which Jesus said, silly Pt1. No, you forgive them 70 times 7. Translated, you forgive them as many times as you need to forgive them, till you realize there is nothing to forgive. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. You shot and killed these people in Orlando. You don't know who you are, because if you knew better, you would do better. What do I need to do? Forgive. And then, having forgiven, then I'm called into action. Because otherwise, all we're doing is sitting around in a circle singing Kumbaya and saying, we are the world, we have forgiven. I'm going to go get some cake. You want some? I'll cut you a slice. That doesn't do enough. So the alchemy of forgiveness is realizing that you have an atmosphere. You are an atmosphere. Now, depending on how old we are, I remember, I'm 50, I remember this whole thing about pneumonia. And now we have meningitis is the contagion thing, and we have the Zika virus and blah, 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 blah. All these potential contagions that we're afraid of. But I only want to talk about one that is an airborne. That just simply by being in the space with someone, you can catch it. We should be that with love. You should be able to walk in a room and your atmosphere of love be so powerful, it's contagious to people around you. And they don't need to know why. They don't need to know what's going on. They only need to know that I feel better. And I'm able to smile. You know, I remember a while ago, I was doing my best to put this whole concept into practice. Because for me, if it stays as a theoretical, it means absolutely nothing to me. That's like sitting down and eating styrofoam. Oh, wow, this tastes really bland. It needs to be delicious. Our practice needs to be delicious. Because if you don't like the food you eat, you don't eat it again. So you need to eat this practice and want more. Be hungry for more. So I'm putting this into practice way back when, and you're sitting on the metro in DC, and there's a crying child, and it's, I'm gonna send prayer. There's whatever, doing a prayer drive by, and you're blessed. You're blessed, and you're quiet. I'm doing my best to send this, because I believe that there's this vibration that we can send out. So whatever this child is experiencing in distress, can I be a catalyst to bring them at ease? Can I be a catalyst for good? So that wherever I walk, it's all good. You know, one of the things that was asked during the practitioner panels is, if someone did not know what a practitioner was or what science or what a treatment is, how would you explain it? A practitioner is very much like a master musician. Understanding what the perfection of harmonics, harmony, music, understanding that there's this scale and the notes and it's all perfect. So that when someone comes to them and says, my guitar, it won't play, the practitioner says, I know the truth of your guitar and it will play. Let me help shift the consciousness so you understand how to put it into tune and play. Whenever we see discord, whether licensed or not, we have an atmosphere. We can recognize and acknowledge that there is a force, a power above, within, moving through, and as us that can change and transform this planet. Because every time we bow down to the lowercase s self, we've given up. We basically said, because how many times have we, whether you said it out loud or thought it in your mind, I'm only one person, what can I possibly do to end racism, sexism, heterosexism, i.e. homophobia? What could I possibly do to eradicate poverty and homelessness and joblessness? What could I, little old me, do to change the political climate so that, what could I possibly do, little old me, to change the actual planetary climate? I'm only one person. Boop! Wrong answer. You are not only one person, though you are only one. Because there is only one. And if you are the one, then you are more than enough to change and transform north, south, east, and west. Every hemisphere, every corner, even though the globe has no corners, every aspect of the globe, you have the ability to transform it. How many people do we recognize and acknowledge as being heroes? Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, Princess Diana, Viktor Frankl, Anne Frank. The list goes on and on and on. We are acknowledging that these individuals had the ability to change the surface of mankind. And yet, we will not acknowledge that we have access to the exact same power. Every time something comes before you, the opportunity, what am I feeling about this? Do I feel anger towards another or towards myself? Forgive it. When something comes up and I feel helpless or hopeless, forgive it. Because the moment we fall down that spiral of helplessness or hopelessness, we are letting this illusion of separation hypnotize us. Forgive ourselves for allowing the watch to dangle and hypnotize us. You served your purpose, I need you no more. And let it go. As Yoda said, do or do not. There is no try. Because we say it. And I understand there's linguistic convenience. We say try. But in all honesty, if I said, I'm going to try to pick this up, it didn't work. You didn't pick it up. I'm going to try to pick it up. No, you picked it up. It's one or the other. You either did it or you didn't do it. There is no middle ground. If we stand as truth in expression and say, to the best of my ability in this moment, I am going to keep my consciousness clear so that whatever comes before me is mine to do. That means if you're watching the news and you see something that says there was a terrorist attack in Paris, why right now, at this moment, did I turn on the news and see that? Because it's mine to do right now. It's mine to say, there's only one power, one presence. It's mine to do. Because if I go into, and I stay there, because it's okay to feel it. It's okay to feel grief, and feel sadness, and feel angry. Don't be angry. Be truth that occasionally is going to feel anger. Be truth and occasionally feel frustration. But if you're being truth, then this emotion, energy and motion is going to flow and go its course and leave you like motion sickness. You don't get on a boat or get in a car and get motion sickness and keep it. You feel it, and it's gone. Feel it and let it go. Whatever comes before you is ours to do. Whatever comes before us is ours to do. So rather than saying, I know not what to do, or I'm only, I got this. Breathe. And one, acknowledge. The earthly self, yes. All of these people in Orlando, their earthly selves are shed. There is no death. Ultimately, there is no death. So while I will mourn the passing of their earthly selves, I know that the spiritual is infinite and eternal. I know that while these police officers were shot and killed, there ultimately is no death. God cannot die. So I will mourn, I will grieve, I will go to the peace vigil, I will go to the memorial. While the I am I, knows they are not gone. We believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny. For we understand that the life of all is God. That's we believe number 11. The last one. The life of all is God. God cannot die. God cannot be lost. Do me a favor, help me find God. Look in the mirror. So whatever comes before us, when something negative bubbles up, place it down, do the work. Whatever your forgiveness work is, do your work. And let go. And then go into the world as the truth, knowing that you have the ability to be a contagion of truth, of love, of peace, of power. Good? Y'all awfully quiet. So let's anchor this. Let's anchor this in prayer. Simply allowing ourselves to be breathed. Knowing that the chair upon which we are sitting is doing exactly what it is meant to do, which is to support us. And so we let go and trust the chair to do exactly that. Just as we trust and let go, knowing that the floor will hold the chair, and that the foundation of the building will hold the floor that holds the chair, and that ultimately there is a spiritual power that is the foundation of all and everything, And just as we trust the chair to support us, we are able to trust this one infinite source to support and supply not simply our every need, but its every need. Because we are the thing itself in expression. We are the I am, showing up as who and what we are, but back of that, there is only one. So in this moment of simply allowing ourselves to be breathed, we know that God has nothing to forgive. God is not loving. God is not omnipotent. God is not omniscient. God is not omnipresent. God is love itself. God is omnipotence itself, omniscience itself, omnipresence itself, magnificence itself. And what is true of God, I know to be true of myself and each and every one of us. So in this moment of knowing that we are divinity in expression, we know, we acknowledge, and we breathe. So the words that I speak are not simply my words, but the words of the I am, speaking in me, as me, from me, through me, as me. Speaking truth. Knowing that we are more powerful than the lowercase s self can recognize or acknowledge. And that as we tune in and tap into the capital S self, the I am that I am, we are able to walk about, changing and transforming every aspect of our lives and our world. And I know these words to be true for each and every one of us. And that is why in gratitude I am able to speak them, and in gratitude I am able to release them into the law, knowing that there is no man, woman, situation, circumstance, occurrence that could ever block, deny, remove,